Welcome, Spiritual Mag update for February 8th, 2023. Well, see what's been going on. I don't know if you follow Dutch Sense, but he does earthquake information. And he was predicting a big old earthquake to happen, and a big old earthquake happened. But he was 10,000 miles off. He was trying to get it within 200 miles, but he was 10,000 miles off, like he was like on the other side of the planet. That's how far off he was. He had the right size earthquake, 7.8, but he had the location 10,000 miles off. First time that's ever happened, first time he's ever seen that. And he's trying to figure out why. Why? Because he's been predicting stuff. He's really very interesting, and I highly recommend him. Dutch Sense, Dutchsinse. You'll get him. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, he's probably hasn't put the point together that like last week, the magnetic pole shift stopped and went the opposite direction. Repeat, the magnetic poles, which have been moving for 6,000 years, faster and faster and faster, they actually stopped and went the reverse direction. So that'd be like having if you have a boiled egg and a raw egg, if you take the boiled egg and spin it, it'll get wobbly, it won't do right. But if it's a hard-boiled egg and you spin it, it'll just spin 100 miles an hour. So that's what happens to the inside of the planet. The planet's soft in there, the molten rock and stuff. So that big old earthquake that's injured a lot of people, sorry to say, it's to be expected. It's an environmental factor. So for the poor souls living in that place, genetically they were strong and doing whatever they were doing, and then suddenly their environment gets whacked. Now that is something called epigenetics. You have the genetics of your physical body, then you've got the genetics that participate in the environment, the way you feel, the way you think, the way you act, the society that you participate in, who you trust, who you don't trust. All those things contribute about half to your DNA, believe it or not, which is kind of weird. Supposedly, I don't know how they measure this, but people use 3% of their DNA, and then the rest of it, they don't know what it does. It's called junk DNA. And then supposedly, some people are saying it's in the etheric realms, that zone outside the physical body, where morphic resonance kind of moves along, and people get together and talk. Now, the idea of epigenetics is a gentleman that's been espousing it, thank God, is Dr. Lipton, Dr. Bruce Lipton. You'll find him, he's excellent. He explains it all so nicely. And I was introduced to Dr. Lipton through Rupert Sheldrake, who's the morphic resonance guy, which is very cool. And I'm a speech path. So I was trained by Sylvia Brown and certified as a hypnotist. And I had direct training from her also as a cell memory therapist. So my background in the water ceremony and focus of thought forms and intentions as a speech pathologist helping people with communication issues combined to recognize that in the epigenetic perspective of DNA, you can help yourself and you can help others. And it's part of the process of evolving society for, the DNA, so that we can start using maybe 4%. Supposedly Einstein used 10% of his DNA, brain power, which is pretty cool. So I'm sure there's people out there listening now who have more than 10% of their DNA that's all fired up. And maybe a suggestion is think about, civic volunteerism, service to others. That's something to think about. Okay, so in one sentence, the water in your body, if you're a male, average male, it's about 60%. Average adult male is about 60% water. Females, average adult female is 55% water. All that water inside of you has memory, and it's snuggled up with your DNA. And together that participates in the epigenetics that you surround yourself in and that you go into and come out of, because eventually you will pass on. And part of the epigenetics that you will take with you is not going to be physical. So, the idea is meditate, go within. Probably spiritual is the way to go. Give it some thought. You and all your loved ones are always in my prayer. Samuel Joseph Bell, spiritualmag.org. Thank you.